Hello, this is Christina Wallace again, and as some of you who are watching my channel regularly may have guessed, I'm late to this tutorial a little bit because this flower, this lavender, turned out to be quite fiddly to make, or at least fiddlier than I thought it would be. I kind of played with the idea of making at least one tutorial as a quick, fabulous filler flower to make, and after all, if not lavender, then what? But then I thought, well, there are a few of those tutorials that are about already, and I'm just gonna do my own thing and get right into the nitty-gritty of it. So I did, and this carter is rubbish, absolute rubbish. So for those of you who follow my suit, do not expect to have an easy ride of it. So for the base of my branch being the wire, I've decided to make 10 of these little cutouts and make sure that they're all clear of residue, and that as well in itself could be a bit of a job actually with cold porcelain. Not so much with gum paste. You'd have a very easy job of it with gum paste. Here I'm just adding a little bit of texture with tweezers. You don't have to do that, but it just gives it that little bit of a customized look, in my opinion. And so this next thing I'm going to do now is a kind of a free-formish little bloom that's going to come out of the main mass, the main branch of lavender. You see the same effect with scabious? Yes, scabious. So I figure if it's okay for scabious, why not do it to a lavender? So, and I'm just trying to freeform it, and it's all lovely. Now, I don't know if you've noticed, but in this particular video, I have decided to slow down a little bit, and so there is less of these bits of my video in this instance where I speed things up a little bit. So I don't know if you like it. If you like it though, please let me know in the comments, because it's very hard for me to know how this video might be coming across, or any of my videos for that matter. And obviously the idea is to kind of get my message across to you guys in the best possible way. Now look at this. This clay just came off with a metal stick, and had it been gum paste, it'd have been ruined. But with cold porcelain, it's just so lovely. I've just fixed it. It sticks right back in, and seamlessly and beautifully, and that's all there is to it. With gum paste, this trick wouldn't have worked. So as you could see, personally, I don't see gum paste or cold porcelain being more difficult to work with than another. There are different ways in which each paste is either easier or more difficult than the other one, and it's just a matter of preference. Personally, as I always say, if you're already working with one medium, you might as well spend a bit of time and learn another. The technique that I use is very similar. Anyway, the technique that is used, not just I use. So anyway, back to me having my videos going at slower rate. The problem is I don't want them to be really boring, and sometimes videos are really boring. You just skip through them trying to find the germs of the video and all the rest of it. And I don't want to bore you. I don't want to bore you, and I don't want these videos to be useless to you. So please drop me a line. Let me know what bits, in general even, what bits work as a rule and what bits don't, and I pretty much just gonna go with the majority vote. I don't take offense. I don't try to hide anything on purpose, and if I choose to make a video, I try to make it useful, otherwise what's the point? So here we go again. I'm trying to add a little bit of character to my lavender, and now this bit is important. You have a hole there in the middle, and this is where your flower is going to go. And I must admit, cold porcelain shrinks. For those of you who haven't seen any videos on cold porcelain, when it dries, it shrinks and the color goes down by a couple of shades as well. So make those little holes a little bit extra big because they are going to shrink down. And as you could see, I've turned in the shape of the base of this little flower just so that it sits in a nicer shape around the main base. Now, for cold porcelain, you don't need to use wires. You can, but you don't have to. Just leave your little petals to sit around and dry out for about 15 minutes or so if you have enough patience. Otherwise, it would be just really difficult to secure them in the right shape across the main branch. If you're using gum paste, you would need a very thin wire, probably 33 or 35, to thread in through the middle of your flowers, trying not to show the top tip, the top of it, through the front of the flower, just basically hide it well, and then dip it in sugar glue by the wire, and then that wire, and then attach it into the hole, and that wire would then not only keep your flower in the right position, but also make it more stable when it's nice and dry. Now I'm going to show you how to tone your cold porcelain bloom using to give it slightly different shades. In this case, I was kind of hoping that my two different pastes would dry out noticeably different colors because the paste was so different, but as with cold porcelain, you can't 100% predict unless you work with the same paste and the same paints for a long period of time, I found. So here I'm just using a little bit of white paint, absolutely dry, and I try to keep my brush as dry as possible. And yet when I first, I don't know if it would be noticeable in this video, but when I first kind of touch the parts of my bloom, the white really covers it and there's too much of it. And then as the brush gets drier, it kind of covers it a lot more evenly and a lot nicer. So it's just it's really just getting into a habit of it. But it's not a problem if you're overdoing it, because unlike with gum paste, you could just use a wet wipe, which is amazing. Wet wipe at the moment is my best friend when it comes to toning flowers, because I haven't done it for all that much. Up to recently, I've just been using dust. Now for cold porcelain, you can use sugar flower dust, but the problem with that is that they they don't have the same longevity as chalks would have, for example. And I haven't tried the chalks, but one of my subscribers, this lady, tried chalks and she said that they weren't as bright as dust. So we'll see what's going to happen. So when I've uploaded this tutorial here the other week, I got loads of questions about flock. What is it, how to use it, what it's good for and not good for. And so in a nutshell, flock is just a man-made fleece that's shredded really well, and you add some gluey water to where you want this flock to stick, and then you shake some of that flock onto your plant. Sorry, I've not videoed this bit very well, but basically you just cover it with water and then you shake your flock through the sieve so it dispenses nicely and evenly. I'm going to show you how to do it without a sieve in a minute as well. And that is all there is to it, really. You can get it in UK. Apparently it's not a very good quality. I've ordered some from eBay, and I'm going to try it out and report on my channel. Other than that, it is what it is, really. It's not edible, obviously. And just quickly, if you're new here, my channel is all about flowers in cold porcelain or gum paste, and I have 2 tutorials a week at least, so please subscribe if you think it's your cup of tea. I would love to have you here. And of course, many thanks to all of you who keep watching my video one after another, leaving comments, joining me on Facebook and Instagram, and generally participating in this little flower loving community that I'm trying to create and that I'm very passionate about. And so back to the fleece. It dries really nicely once it's on your plant, and if you kind of tap your plant a little bit, it does not come off for the most part, but a couple of shreds could still fall off. So just to let you know. And finally, this actual flock used to be yellow, and I've just added some dust, some edible dust to it to make it this particular color. I don't really know long-term effects of this kind of use of flock, but I'm just playing around with it. I've just discovered it, and I'm sure there is a lot to learn. And if you thought that flock was very wasteful, as you could see, it isn't. You have to keep it away from humidity because it might just become a little bit patchy. I found that it's really quite difficult to get into all nooks and crannies when you sieve your flock through that little sieve. Also, the sieve is quite big, even a small sieve. So what I found that once your main areas are covered, it's actually quite possible to retouch those little bits that are not covered with a brush. But if you start with the brush, I find that it works a lot less well and your coverage becomes a little bit patchy. Again, just like with anything else, the best thing you could possibly do is get hold of some of it yourself and just have a little play with it and see what works for you and what doesn't. In case you're interested, these are 2 little pots of flock. A friend of mine very kindly brought it for me from Russia. It's not very shiny and it's very, very fine. Almost too fine if you ask me. But I'm sure you could have, if you really, really try, you could get kind of different textures of this flock as well as different colors. And this is it for today. If you found my tutorial useful, please share it on your social media and give a thumbs up because it really, really does help. And otherwise, I will see you next week with new tutorials, etc., etc. Bye bye for now.